On April 4th, near the Shiite holy city of Najaf in central Iraq, Shiite Iraqi residents who were staging a demonstration clashed with Spanish-led troops and Iraqi police. And on April 5th, the situation got even worse as the American troops fired at the demonstrators. Can you tell us the background and the characteristics of this incident?
Well, the collision between the Allied forces and the Shiite population at Najaf is appeared in the form of Allied forces offensive against a demonstration of Shiite. The demonstration arose from frustration of supporters for Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr. Muqtada's group has been criticized and sometimes offended by coalition forces as instabilizing the country. However, since last November, this group changed tactics and supported peaceful demonstration requesting direct election under Grand Ayatollah Ali Sistani, who is the highest cleric of Shiite, and refrained to take radical position. This time, CPA, Coalition Provisional Authority, and Allied forces closed the office for Muqtada's mouthpiece journal called Al-Hawza last month, accusing some of the articles of this journal provoked instability of the country, and arrested one of Muqtada's followers, Sheikh Yaqub in Najaf. The demonstration spread to Sadr city in Baghdad, Kufa, Amara, Basra, and Nasiriyah. These places are more or less under strong influence of Muqtada's group. This clash is characterized in two ways. First, this clash seems to be initiated by the American forces. The United States might consider radical elements such as Muqtada's group should be controlled or removed ahead of transfer of authority to Iraqis June 30th. Second, Muqtada Sadr took again strong position and urged the supporters to threaten Allied forces if they offend them. The both positions are different from positions taken since last November. The Americans tried to calm the situation by retreating their claim to introduce caucus system to choose members of the Transitional National Assembly since last November. On the other hand, Muqtada tried to be low profile since Sistani's claim attracted majority of Shiite people and take the opportunity to counter the American claim by incorporating unified Shiite position.
What kind of position is the Shiite Muslim cleric Muqtada al-Sadr in the world of Iraqi Shiites? And why does the cleric take a tough stance against the United States?
Well, Muqtada is still young and a low-ranking Islamic jurist. However, as came from one of the most famous religious families, al-Sadr family, and in the tradition of late Muhammad Baqir Sadr, who was advocate of toppling dictator's regime under the name of God. He is in a very good position to claim Islamic revolution in Iraq. In addition to that, his late father, Grand Ayatollah Muhammad Sadiq al-Sadr, created supporters network. So as inherent of his network, Muqtada has advantage over other Shiite religious groups, which started to regain their position after the last war. Muqtada started to advocate Iraqi supremacy in religion in Iraq and resist American occupation. However, some of religious leaders, including his religious guardian, Ayatollah Kazim Khairi, criticized Muqtada's politically radical stance and the creation of self-claimed government. Under these circumstances, Muqtada kept low profile in politics since then. However, ahead of the creation of New Iraq, he might be prepared to reclaim religious supremacy of Iraqis over other nations and Islamic political stance.
Muqtada al-Sadr is said to have a militant organization of several thousand. What is this militant organization made up of, and what kind of presence does this organization have among ordinary Iraqi people after the fall of the Hussein regime last April?
Well, this organization is called Mehdi's Army. This Mehdi's Army is appeared after the last war and consists of followers of Muqtada al-Sadr. This organization had become paramilitary forces, keeping security of the cities, providing sometimes social welfare for the poor, and policing in some area. However, since Americans worried the upcoming of Islamic paramilitary forces, claiming to respect the CPA established law regulating to give up weapons and to abandon any paramilitary forces other than the official army and security forces, American forces tried to pressurize the Mehdi's army and sometimes surrounded them for disbanding them. Since then, the Mehdi's army downgraded and limited to act only in a certain area, such as a saddle city of Baghdad. However, this time they reappeared in a certain form to show their strength again.
Iraq's leading Shiite cleric, Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, is demanding an early election and has been criticizing the interim constitution and has been staging a political row. What do you think the major Shiites led by Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani will do in the wake of this incident by the group led by Muqtada al-Sadr?
Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani urgently requested to refrain radical reaction against offensive of the Allied forces. On the other hand, Muqtada urged their supporters to mobilize against such an offensive. This may end the coordination and cooperation among Shiite political and religious leaders, which happened since last November. Since the war started, Shiites started to conflict each other. Even Ali al-Sistani, who looks like the most influential person on Iraqi politics now, was prime target by the other Shiite forces, including Muqtada's one. This instability among Shiites may happen again. On the other hand, some Shiites, other than sincere supporters of Muqtada, kept their displeasure and dissatisfaction against the occupying forces also. These situations may bring more serious consequences among Shiites in general. If it is so, instability of Shiite community, which is biggest population and cover large area of Iraq, lead further instability almost of all areas in Iraq. In this sense, situation in Basra might suggesting and the worst case and should be carefully watched. 3 days ago, demonstrations requiring job and stability had become victims of British bullet in Basra. And this unfortunate incident may create another background of the current demonstration and crashes in Basra.
And the U.S.-led occupation authority is aiming to hand over power to the Iraqi people on June 30th. Can you tell us your prospects on this, including your insight to the Iraqi situation now?
There will be a lot of the programs before creating the Iraqi government. First of all, the agreement of U.S. forces stationing in Iraq, and what kind of agreement will be done, and rules of elections for coming next January, and what kind of the organization would be transferred the power from CPA. So, considering these difficulties and the problems ahead, the United States might decide to exclude the unwanted groups such as Muqtada's groups, and to create certain circumstances for the future government. However, the United States should know that their reaction against terrorists and religious groups should be different, because the response from the population is quite severe in case of religion. So if the United States failed to deal with this situation, it may accelerate the tensions toward June 30th.
Thank you very much for your insight.